Let's see. Where do we want to go next? Let's try, let's go north of the border. Let's go to Alex from Quebec.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Bienvenue.
Merci beaucoup. I'm actually a first-time caller, and uh, uh, before the pandemic in Quebec, the government had promised electoral reform
Hmm.
away from first past the post and into a mixed member proportional representation system.
Sure.
But among the advocates of electoral reform, there was a big debate between those who wanted proportional representation and those who preferred, a preferential voting system. Justin Trudeau actually was more of an advocate of the second option, while the provincial government preferred the first option. And I was just wondering, what was your preference between the two?
Well, I always hesitate to weigh in specifically about questions in front of other countries because I just don't feel as if I'm as well informed as I could be or should be really to be commenting. But I've talked over the years about a number of different reforms to how we do our elections that I would welcome. I would love a proportional representation system, big picture, because it could be a way for third parties to make inroads in the United States. The risk, of course, is you get 5% white supremacists or something crazy. And that's something that would have to be dealt with. And we would have to think about that. But I think proportional representation, especially in the US, where this two-party duopoly is a complete and total mess, would be an interesting thing. Switching away from first past the post to something like single transferable vote or one of the many different ranked choice voting systems that don't have some of the problems that we've identified in a few of the systems would also be very much welcome. A combination of the two is something that I would be open to. I welcome that. And in the US, I've talked about it a lot. You know, in the context of Canada, it seems more appropriate to ask someone who's been following the Canadian discussion.
Well, in my honest opinion,
Yes.
everyone just advocates for the reform that advantages them. So, for
Generally.
example, yeah, Justin Trudeau leads a centrist party, so of course he will prefer a preferential voting system
Yes.
because if he ends up against a right-wing candidates, he'll get the left-wing vote, and if
Hmm.
he ends up against the left-wing candidates, he'll get the right-wing vote. Whereas in Quebec, where the main issue has been nationalist, not in the sense of like white nationalist as in America, but nationalist as in wanting more autonomy for the province, wanting to protect the French language, and so on.
Of course.
Yeah, usually these parties have split the vote between left and right wing nationalists, allowing for, parties who aren't that to win more seats than they should have. And so Quebec nationalists, of course, prefer a proportional voting system to increase their representation.
Yeah.
And
On that
it,
front, what are the rules right now in terms of the signage in Quebec? Is it that the signs have to be only in French or it has to be French first and larger?
well, in the 70s, they tried to make it only in French.
Uh-huh.
And the Supreme Court of Canada said you're not allowed to do that. That's infringing on freedom of speech.
Okay.
And so today it's predominantly French. That means you can put it in English, but the font has to be smaller than in French.
Understood.
I think I think there's an exception in native communities where you are allowed to have signages only in like Inuit or Huron or
Right.
stuff like that because yeah, we want to protect French, but we don't want to like end native languages.
Are
Like
you
they
day to
yeah.
day, what's how much French versus English are you speaking? Is it 90-10? Is it
Oh, I almost don't. Well, I live in a rural region, so far away from Montreal, where in Montreal you need English,
Yes.
but outside of that, you don't really need to. I only learned to speak English at 14,
Okay.
so it really wasn't a necessity in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, understood. Understood. All right, very good. Fascinating to hear about what's going on in Quebec. I appreciate the call.
All right, thank you, David.
All right. Thank you. Really great topics today. Really, really great topics. Let's speak to, oh, I don't know. How about, is this is this Jake from Massachusetts? Hold on. Is it? Oh no, it's do not call on. Did not want me to call on. Sorry, but wow, I apologize. Somebody was just they left a note saying don't call on me, and it just looked so interesting that I had to go with it. Let's go to Michael from Berlin. Michael, you're on the air.
Hey, David.
Yes.
Great to hear from you.
Pleasure.
I'm actually Berlin, New Jersey.
So
that's
okay.
why I don't have an accent. But
all right. Well, actually, you do have an accent, but it's a Jersey accent.
Yes.
Thank you.
I visited Germany 13 times, though, because my parents are from Austria. So I'm a first-generation Austrian-American.
Now, let me inquire about that. You went to Germany 13 times because your parents are from Austria. Why not go to Austria?
Well, I'm sorry. To clarify, Frankfurt Airport,
Oh.
and then went from Frankfurt to Vienna, Austria.
Got it.
And so that was about 13 times through Frankfurt.
Got it.
So I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've ever called any show.
You're doing great so far.
This is actually on my bucket list. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. What was on your bucket list?
Oh, I don't have anything. I don't ever think about in those terms. Unfortunately, I couldn't.
Okay.
I don't have a bucket list.
Okay. Well, my bucket list, I just wanted to give an example. My bucket list would be to travel the United States. I'm into endurance events, and I would love to go for a long distance bike tour of the U.S. and just meeting people and discussing, meeting with different people and talking about, other things, local things, just learning from different cultures in the U.S. and maybe talk about democracy, how we can help our democracy get along. Because
Excellent.
A lot of people don't understand the process of just getting involved in local politics.
Absolutely. That seems like a worthy thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I need a leave of absence, though. That will take me like a month or a couple months to do. But
oh, yeah. I would set aside some time for that.
Yeah. I'd like to shout out to Egbert as well, who was from Vienna. He was a caller, and he hasn't called in for a while. And I really enjoyed his when he called in.
All right, very good. Shout out to Egbert from Austria. I so appreciate the call.